What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It's your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first round pick with the Kansas City Royals, giving you this knowledge, everything what's going on with the youth baseball space and now softball, giving these kids maximum exposure around the country and helping kids get into school, man. And speaking of, man, getting kids to school, maximum exposure, and man, this is I met my boy here. That's to the side of me over here through one of my really good friends of mine. We were just talking about him, man. His one of his pitching coaches in the Braves organization. I've known for over 25 years now, 20 at least 23. Gosh, it'll go back a long time, man. And so he told me a lot about this gentleman, to the side of me right now. How cool of a dude, how hard he throw, how much he is. Well informed when it comes to the analytical side of baseball where everything is going right now, right? So I had a chance to kind of talk with him a couple of times, man. And now I kind of shifted over to he helped me out with my showcase, and I wanted to just not only share his experience and talk about his, what he got going on with himself right now because he's about to go to head to spring training soon, but he helped me with the showcase, and he's a burst in his analytical side of the game, man, where this thing is going and where it's headed on the recruiting side. And he himself, big time. He's gonna tell me what he played at, but big time SEC player. His brother's in the SEC, well connected with college coaches around the country, man. And I just felt like, man, it was only right that I bring my boy after he helped me on this past week, two weekends ago. And I thought it was only right that he come on, man, and share his story and share his knowledge of the analytics when it comes to this pitching and hitting side of things. So I am joined by my boy Sean McLaughlin from right here in Georgia, Atlanta Braves farmhand pitcher. Mac, man, what's good, brother?
I don't have quite the intro that you have, former first rounder, big leaguer, but not quite as good. But a little bit on my backstory. I'm from here, Johns Creek, Georgia, in Atlanta. Went to Northview High School. Was an outfielder at first, and then threw very hard. So I kind of had an opportunity to get drafted out of high school as a pitcher, but I thought I could still hit. So I wanted to take my talents up to Athens, Georgia. Played up there. Had a great 3 years there. I did starting pitcher there, relieving pitcher, played outfield, I DH, kind of did it all. Had a shoulder injury, so then I just went strictly to pitching. Kind of did just about everything you do in college baseball. I got to do. Then I got drafted again by the Braves my junior year, and I've been with them for the last six. I guess this is heading my 7th year, 6th year. I don't know. They're all kind of coming together at this point. Pandemic, a bunch of years in the minor leagues, but yeah. So I'm heading into my 6th year as a pitcher, right-handed pitcher, and it's been a fun journey.
Man, good deal, man. This is I want to hear a little bit more deeper before we get into the analytical side, man. I definitely want to hear more about you told a great story, and we talked about analytics and the road. You're gonna tell me more so that I'm that I could, I'm learning myself too. I'm one of them old dinosaur dudes, right? But I want you to talk about that story about when you saying that, you go to Georgia, pumping hard, you're able to do multiple, hit, throw, whatever. Now you get drafted. And how hard were you throwing when you got drafted, man?
I was anywhere, like I said, I was coming off a shoulder thing. So I was up to 96 miles an hour. I was hitting 95 when I was coming out of high school. So I was always a hard thrower. But to get to kind of your story is nobody really dives into this stuff until you need to. If you're striking everybody out and you're the dude, you don't really look into this stuff because you just go out there and you throw the ball. For me, my velocity being as high as it was my whole life, I never really had to think about this type of stuff. I never really had to dive into the numbers, make pitching too complicated because simply dudes couldn't catch up. When I got up to AA is when dudes caught up. 96 to them is nothing, right? So that's when I got my butt kicked, and I was sitting there thinking, these guys can't be that good. There must be something else, going on. I was kind of in a pretty dark place with it. Definitely the the bottom of my career, I would say. Those dog days in the minor leagues, I know you've been there. And when they're not going good, it's tough. So I went up to Double A finally for the first time in my career, got my butt kicked, like I said, got sent back down, and kind of reevaluated my whole career. And I had a couple options. I could have just kept doing what I was doing, and just blindly go right back at it and hope that things could change. Or I reached out to some people and got pretty curious about my career and kind of took ownership of it and said, there's something else back here. I was watching other dudes throwing 95, 96, blow it by dudes, 2031. I couldn't get it by them 02, 12 when they didn't know it was coming. So I knew there was something in there in the back of my mind. I just didn't have the right information yet. And the way the game's been going is information is extremely valuable and data is very valuable. And it's only given out at certain periods by certain people. And I didn't have access to it at the time. So I kind of reached out and did some digging. I always look to the best of the best when I look at this stuff. Like I use Major League data because everybody's so good up there. If you find something that's working up there, it usually means it would work pretty much at any level. So I started really diving into the numbers using sites like Baseball Savant, Fangraphs. You can find all these on the internet. I kind of just dove into guys that I kind of modeled my game after and saw who was dominating the game. I wanted to see what they were doing well and, looking at my own numbers and my own data, what I wasn't doing. I kind of came to the conclusion that the only thing I was good at was throwing strikes and throwing it really hard, which is why I was able to get to Double A and before it hit that roadblock. For other guys, it's going to be, it might be your junior high school guys start catching up to you. It might be college. Some guys will get, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the show before their body starts deteriorating and their stuff, becomes, more pedestrian. So I found out that I was good at velocity. My spin was pretty good. I didn't utilize it well. I had about the flattest fastball you could have. Analytically, like if you look at what Major League average is, that's exactly what mine was in terms of you talk spin rate, you talk movement, you talk the angle it's coming in at. Just about everything you could do, I was dead average, which to be Major League average is kind of cool for most people, but to me, it was the thing that was holding me back. And that's where I realized that as pitchers, we don't want to be average. Hitters are used to seeing average. Hitters practice average. Just like you don't want to be the guy in the big leagues throwing 91 miles an hour. You don't want to be the guy in the big leagues with my fastball movement profile. So once I learned that about myself, it's one thing to get the information. It's another thing to apply it. And that was kind of what was the more challenging part. I got with some really, really smart dudes that are way smarter than me. And they really helped me out and kind of were able to apply the information that I just found about myself and see how I could change those to be more like the other guys in the big leagues that were having a ton of success. So for me, I had a very flat fastball. And when we talk about that is we don't mean straight really. It means it had a little bit of sink, a little bit of arm side action, and that's what hitters are used to seeing. So that's what they practice. That's what when they're laying in bed at night, that's what they want to see when they're dreaming of homers, right? I'm sure you hit a lot of flat fastballs out, right? Right. So for me, I wanted to be more four-seam dominant. So I looked at the game. I watched, really dominant relievers like Liam Hendricks, Kimbrel, Hader, all of them had those really, really good four-seamers. And I said, well, let's start there, right? And so I started doing that. I changed, before we get too technical, I changed my spin axis, some of my spin rate, my spin efficiency. All this might be, Mandarin to some people, but it's all concepts that we've known about in pitching for forever. It's just we haven't really known what the terms are. Once I changed those, I had a pretty good four-seamer, and I was able to get swing and misses at the top of the zone. I was able to, just by changing my four-seamer, it changed how good my curveball was because the separation between the two became much larger. So without even changing my curveball, it made my fastball, without changing my curveball, fastball, it made both pitches better, basically. And so once I got there, I just kind of started diving into this more and more, finding out what works at the big league level and then trying to apply it to myself. And then I end up, in turn, starting a company around it and helping other players do the same thing that I did. I could have easily been released after 2018. I still kind of don't even know why I wasn't. I was awful. And luckily, I stuck around long enough to be able to make these changes that I'm talking about today. And that's why I kind of want to help players, whether it's guys getting stuck in Double-A, whether it's guys getting stuck, from just making their high school team, or if it's guys just trying to get that college scholarship. Because as we get further and further down the road here, the information that we're getting is becoming more and more public and more apparent. You got companies like myself who are now doing this for amateurs. There's PBR, there's Perfect Game. So amateurs are now getting access to the same stuff that I get at the professional level. So it's not going away. It's just going to be, how do you understand it? How do you apply it? And how do you use it to your advantage?
I mean, good thing. I mean, gosh, so much information and what you just said, man. But I think, let's take it back to ground level on what you said. You get drafted, you're 96 miles an hour. You get to a certain level because what parents are going to hear is like, damn, man, you were 95 out of high school first, right? And I'm sure you're probably unhittable and pretty close to unhittable, and you get drafted, but you still wanted to do the two-way thing. You go to University of Georgia. I'm sure you're doing well there. You suffer a shoulder injury. I'm guessing is your left shoulder because you stopped hitting from that.
No, it was actually my right. So I ended up only hitting my sophomore year, and then I realized that, I could hit a little bit. I didn't have the power I did as my arm. So I realized if I wanted to keep playing this game, they don't like slap hitters anymore. So I was a slap lefty, good defender, but on the mound, I had, the big right arm. So I realized if I wanted to accomplish my dream of being a big leaguer, I switched to just pitching my junior year because I just got overworked my freshman year, just, doing both in the SEC at 18 years old. It was just a lot on my body. So, so junior year,
let's go there. All right. We're going to go back to the analytical side. I think that's great information, what you just said. All right. Because there's plenty of parents on here. Okay. I know some that feel like, and players especially, right? They feel like, I may throw 90 something off the mound, but I'm not. I've been hitting my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So I want to keep hitting, and I want to get a scholarship to play a two-way guy and all of that. How tough is it now? Let's just. You're in the SEC, but in general, you know what I'm saying? How tough is it? You experiencing it, and I'm glad you said what you said because I don't know. Only you will know. How tough is it to pitch and be a position player at a Power 5 or D1 program? How tough is that on your body?
Yeah, it's a lot, especially going from the college workload of going to class, extracurricular college activities. I'll leave it there, and then oh, hey Tiffany, doing that whole schedule. You're not getting as much sleep as you did in high school, right? Then you start, getting pitching with a ton of adrenaline. You got a bunch of fans in there. I was pitching Fridays, taking Saturdays off, playing outfield Sundays and Tuesdays. So it was just a lot. You're going through a collegiate strength program, which is great to do, but it's a lot very soon compared to what I was doing in high school. So to balance all of those things was very difficult, but to me is kind of was the draw of why I went to Georgia, just because they were going to allow me to do both. Like I said, I could have gone out of high school for a pretty penny as a pitcher. But to me, I don't think my college career went as I thought it would have, but I think it was great because I think I always would have had that regret of, am I still a hitter type deal if I had just become a pitcher. I don't think I was ready to give it up yet. And I think that's something important for kids is to, if you don't want to give it up, even if that means maybe not going, SEC and you have to go mid-major to do both, or, maybe it's go junior college to do both. If you're not ready to give it up, don't live with that regret of giving it up. Because even though it didn't work out for me hitting wise, I think it was really good for me to just be there and kind of not have to be that pitcher that says, man, you should have seen me. I used to rake in high school, right? I hit pretty well in college, but it was good for me to realize that wasn't my path to the big leagues. I think that's really important for kids, especially at, when you're making these decisions that I committed when I was 15 years old. And when you're doing, making these decisions at 15, 18 years old on what, you want to do in college, I think it's really important to not limit yourself. And if you don't want to make that decision yet, I'd say don't. I'd say go a place that, you can talk to the coach and that they want you to do both, and you go out and do both. Because it's amazing to see, just like I said, I'm 26 years old in professional baseball now, and seeing the amount of guys that were position players in college are now pros in pro pitchers, right? It's amazing to see the transition of guys, making that decision too early and it being the wrong one. So for me, that's super valuable. But in terms of the workload, It's a lot, and I think that's why you got to really take care of your body. It's something I learned after that year. It was a blessing that that injury. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and it allowed me to kind of take better care of my body, be able to manage workload. I'd never really done much shoulder care or anything before that. I was just a 18-year-old who threw hard and didn't really have to think about things. Then when a big injury, something like that happens, that's when you kind of start to take a step back and you start to reevaluate. So if you are going to do two-way, it's definitely a lot on your body. So just know that going in and take your stuff very seriously. I thought I was taking mine seriously, but I needed to actually do more just because it's so much at that level with the adrenaline, with the fans, with the expectation. But it was great. It was a fun time.
Do you think the injury happened because of the overworking load, or just
it's hard to say, really. I think it could have been a little bit mechanical. Could have been a little bit workload wise. Could have been not getting too much sleep. It's hard to because you never really know. When you're looking back at an injury, it could be just a tight back that led to it. So there's a lot of things, but I think I could have managed my workload probably a little bit better. Just because I was super young and I was always feeling good. So whenever you do that, you don't really manage the workload. I mean, you were a young dude once, and that's where you kind of think you're invincible, and then you kind of go out there and you go. But like I said, I'm glad it happened because it set me up for the next 6, 7, 8 years of me playing, of really taking care of my body. So it was kind of a trade-off system. It's really hard to tell a kid to prepare to manage workload and to do the little things until they have something like that happen. Because it's just like until you experience it, in my opinion, it's more just, you hear from your parents, you hear from your coaches, it's kind of in one ear, out the other. But once it happens to you, then you start taking better attention to it. So if you can start that process before it happens, great. But that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Nah, good deal, man. So, all right. So now you come into the draft, you're pumping 96. Pitcher only now, fully focused, professional player, professional pitcher, and you get all the way to the AA level, which, essentially from a hitting and a pitching standpoint, if you can pitch in AA, you can pitch in the big leagues, right? You heard that, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you get to that AA level, and now that 96, which is still hard above average Major League fastball, right? But that 96 is now getting turned around because eventually, we all, every hitter and pitcher gets to that breaking point where everything does work to a certain point. Mine was high A to me. I was in Carolina League. That was when the year before I faced your boy D. Lou over there, because I had to repeat high A, you know what I'm saying, for the second time because I struggled so much. But that high A was mine. Yours seems like it was AA, right? So you go through that period where you hit that roadblock in a career and you realize, man, my swing is not good enough, or my 96 is not, getting it by guys like it used to. So now you gotta, you had to re-examine your career, not career, but examine like what's going on. Why are these guys turning on that? And then you did you went through it. You kind of really studied and took the time to find out what was going on. Now, when I hear flat fastball, I want to talk about, I know without talking terms, we'll get into the terms, but I want to talk about what's for really, it's going to be some dads and coaches that know what we're talking about, but there are going to be, some dads and moms over there that don't understand the difference between, a flat fastball, a straight fastball, a running fastball. So, and if you could just, dumb it down as best you could, you know what I'm saying? What's the difference of a flat fastball, or running, a little running action, fastball, straight four seam, or what?
Like all these new terms and analytics and stuff is we're just measuring and putting, labels on things that we've already known. Like when you were playing, heavy fastball, bowling ball sinker, right? All these terms have been around. We can just measure them now. So it's nothing new. We're not creating new pitches. We're just being able to label them better. A great indicator for me is just once I understood all of this and I look back, even at the high school level, maybe not high school, but college, anytime I was throwing pitches in fastball counts, I think it's a great indicator for scouts, for, kids looking. If you're getting hit, and fastball counts, just, getting crushed, right? It's probably, they know it's coming. right? So they know they're gearing up for the velocity. So the velocity kind of becomes less impactful, right? I mean, if somebody's gearing up for 95 in a 2-0 count, it's way less impactful if they don't know it's coming. So they know it's coming, they know it's 95 or they know it's 85. And they're putting good swings on it and they're licking their chops and they're looking good, right? That's usually when it's pretty flat. When you have those really heavy fastballs, we call them, the good four seamers, right? You'll get a lot of swing and misses, even when they know it's coming. You'll get a lot of foul balls, a lot of pop flies in fastball counts. And you'll notice this about your teammates and about your other players. Just watch your team. You're going to have, 3-4 kids that whatever reason they can just go like this and be like, here it is, and they're not going to hit it, right? And it might only be 80 miles an hour, right? But the effect of what it is, it's more of like an optical illusion. So you're getting that four-seamer ride, and it's straight, and it's missing right above the barrel. And you're kind of like, it's like that lefty. We're like, how's he getting everybody out throwing, 75, right? That's the type of fastball. And same thing for me. Mine was, how the heck's he getting hit at 96, right? And that's whenever you see that and you say that, you're like, okay, it must be pretty flat. Now, the opposite of that is, the bowling ball sinker, right? If you're the dude that just gets ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, same thing in hitters count. You got a guy at 2-0, and he's licking his chops. He's like, here it is. And he's getting that 6-3 rollout. I mean, that's a good indicator that you got a really good sinker. The hitter will always tell us more than TrackMan or Rapsodo or Yak or Tech or any of these machines. The hitter is the best indicator because they're the ones that are letting you know what your ball's really doing, because we have more data than we've ever had before, but we still don't have everything in terms of deception, command, like really important aspects of pitching. So the hitter will let you know if he's popping that up consistently that you probably got a pretty good four-seamer. If he's swinging and missing over that, you got a good one. Now, if you're a dude that's not missing bats at all and you're throwing pretty hard, like myself, that's when you got to kind of look in the mirror and say, hey, I might need to, get with somebody on this, right? Another great challenge I would allow all the other pitchers to do is I had this weird thing going on in 2016, 2017, where every one of my catch partners kept getting called up. So I had to rotate all these catch partners. So I'm like, dang, I must be making these guys better or something. But every guy kept called up. So most guys throw the same dude the whole season. You get pretty used to seeing his ball. I got like 10 dudes. I couldn't keep a catch partner, right? But I got to see a lot of different pitch shapes. One of the guys, Jacob Webb, who's with the Braves, he's got this invisible fastball. He would tell guys it's coming, didn't matter. Like, and I saw it just playing catch. So I would have players go to their teammates and rotate catch partners and start taking a look at their fastballs and see, hey, this kid's fastball looks way different than his. Then go talk to him about his grip and go talk to him about, hey, what are you thinking when you do this? That's usually where the most you learn the most is from your teammates, because they got weird stuff going on. And you're like, oh, let me try that, right? And then all of a sudden you try something and it switches it up. So if you're the dude that can't get any swing and misses, if dudes are just wrecking your stuff, right, it usually means you got a flat fastball. Now, if you have really high velocity like myself, it might take a while to realize that, to look in the mirror, because I was above the competition, so the hitters couldn't tell me anything because the velocity was so great. But that's what was hard about my career, is nobody wanted to change the kid throwing 95 until you have to, right? And I agree with you, because we still don't know enough about pitching. But I would just say, honestly, just play catch with your catch partners. Be really intuitive and observant with these guys, and be honest with yourself. If you're not performing the way you want to perform, and then it's not, don't doubt your stuff, but just say, hey, there might be something more to this. And then you go out with a coach and you get their opinion on it. Somebody that you trust, find a good pitching mind, and they'll be able to tell you. They can see with the eye. Like your man Delu, he knows all this stuff. He can see with his eye. You've seen it. You can play catch with the guy. If guys got it or not. Then there's ways, once you figure that out, that you can kind of fix that. And there's a lot of drills, a lot of stuff online. Stuff like me with TrackMan. There's a lot of ways from that once you identify that you have a problem.
That's for people joining in, man, we're getting people coming in, and I appreciate everybody listening in. We have Sean McLaughlin, who is the minor league pitcher with the Atlanta Braves, analytical, your guy when it comes to analytics. Started from his own career and wanted to find out more why things weren't. He's struggling, throwing so hard, and he got heavy into the analytical side of things, and this is why. How I got in contact with him. So knows all about it. We're going to get a little deeper into it, but I just wanted to kind of, readdress who we were speaking with and So when we get to talking about this, man, so I want to go back, because I knew you were coming on yesterday, and I mentioned this story. These are going to be relief starter and a relief pitcher. You well before your time, but I never understood. I remember this guy we played. It was Danny Batista. Danny was the number 3 starter for the 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks World Series team that beat the Yankees 7 games. And Danny coming up, we traded for him from going way back now from the Expos all the way to to the Royals. This is before the Nationals was even a team. Now that the old Expos. But anyway, but Danny would throw. I mean, I promise you, Mac, he probably he sat 96 to 98, and he could touch 100. And when I tell you, I've never seen a dude who threw 100 miles an hour at 99 and get hit so hard. I mean, I was in the left field. I mean, I would just be like, yo, what? And I had to look back because dude was just taking hacks off of this dude. You know what I'm saying? I just look at the screen and I would see 99. I'll be like, but then on the flip side, I'll get a guy like David Risky. And David pitched about 10, 12 years in the major leagues, relief pitcher, 60-something rounder. I promise you, he topped out about 92. I faced him from A-ball, the Carolina League. Lord, he's one of the reasons I had to stay back another year. And he just he all the way to the major leagues, and he played for some really good Cleveland, Indians teams in the early to mid 2000s. Topped out 92, short arm the ball. But he would throw that belt-high fastball that just had a little rise on it, and I would swing underneath, and it would be the most frustrating thing. And I would look at it. I swore he threw 98, but he was throwing 90 to 92.
Yep.
And I never understood, all this stuff, the analytic and spin rate and all of that. I just knew that, he had this fastball, this invisible ball. We used to call it like, he just would throw it by me every time. So I hear what you're saying on that spin rate stuff. So if you could, man, I mean, you kind of dissecting this, but because of your knowledge now, so for those hard throws, those parents or those players that think, man, I could kind of get away with it right now in the spin rate, what are some of the things, the keys? I know that was great what you said about the throwing partners aspect of it, but if I'm a 16-year-old pitcher and I got some good velo, I know how, or even if I don't have velo, but I'm a strike thrower, what are some of the things that you would want to teach a young hitter to kind of be, ready for the college level at the next level? Is that,
Yeah. So you're saying from a pitching standpoint or hitting standpoint?
Yeah. What are some of the key tips that, that you don't fall into that fastball that gets banged on? You know what I'm saying? Even if you
I would say first and foremost, so there's a lot of ways to measure this now. So like you said, I guarantee you I could come up with some numbers that your guy throwing 99 is most likely, doing. And there's probably some numbers that really back up the dude that's thrown 88 right by you in the Carolina League. Like that's what I said. It's like we're not, these aren't new pitches. We're just learning out how to measure them better. So there are a lot of facilities around at least the Atlanta area and probably around the country where you can type in, you can go to Rapsodo, you can go to TrackMan. You can kind of get in contact with them to find out who has them and kind of where. It's really easy to be able to see this stuff, like we say, like coach comes in, but a lot of times coaches don't want to tell you the truth, right? Data can't lie to you, so it's kind of a reality check. If you come throw with me on, my track band, like I'll tell you exactly where you rank, in your ball, against against high schoolers, against college, against, pro guys, right? The hard part about this is if you don't get it measured on these devices, it becomes subjective. So it's a coach that doesn't want to hurt your feelings, right? It's a team. The worst tracking unit in the world is your own catcher. You throw a ball to a catcher and they're like, yeah, man, that was good. They will never tell you that your stuff stinks. They'll never do it. So I would say to go out and find a Rapsodo or a TrackMan or there's Flight Scope, there's Yakkertech. There's a lot of capabilities out there to some facilities, and go throw on them and do a baseline test, because you're going to find out a lot about yourself. It's the reason why those machines are so expensive and so good is because they're putting data on stuff that our eyes can't really see. And that's where this importance comes in. Now, this is very beneficial if you're 16 years old, or if you're a pro guy, because pitching is all about learning about who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you can't pitch. For me,
what does that mean? What does that mean, Matt? Please.
So for me, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know where I could get guys out in the zone because I didn't really know where my ball played. I didn't really know what my ball did, right? I didn't have, because my ball was flat, I didn't have an advantage at the top of the zone or the bottom of the zone. So I would have to hit corners and be very precise, which is really hard to do. That's why guys get paid a lot of money if you can do it. But once I found out now that I have changed my stuff and I'm the four seam guy with heavy spin on my breaking pitches, I now have a plan and I know who I am. So I can go out there and execute exactly what I do well. If you don't know what you do well, and if you can't put like a stamp on it, pitching comes really hard because then you're just guessing. And that's when I realized in my career that I'd been pretty much guessing the whole time. I'd been trying to, sequence. I've been trying to hit, an at's ass, and it's really hard to do that. Now I can miss way more because I have a plan. I know where my ball moves. So when you go throw on a Rapsodo or a TrackMan and you get with somebody knowledgeable about this stuff, what they're going to do is they're going to tell you exactly what you're good at. And they're going to tell you what you're not good at. So if you're a sinker guy and Rapsodo comes back and tells you, yeah, hey, you got a pretty good sinker, right? Throwing that pitch up in the zone is a very bad idea. If you're a four-seam dude and you got really good carry and you get a lot of pop-ups, and throwing that pitch really down in the zone is not a great idea. So when you get these reference points of kind of what your ball is doing, it allows you to establish a better plan on how to get hitters out. And that doesn't mean, you're trying to hit, the top tightrope. It's like, no. If I miss and I miss up with a good four seam, it's okay, right? If I miss down with a sinker, it's okay. And it allows kids to be more confident because what's going to happen is if you're that sinker guy and if you throw it down in the zone, you got a better chance of getting it out, what are you going to do? You're going to go out there and have full confidence that if you throw it in the bottom of the zone, that's your best shot. So going back to me not knowing my stuff and having a flat fastball, I didn't know where I could go in the zone. And it was kind of different with each guy. And I was just guessing. I'm like, I think I can go up here. I don't really know. And to me, what all this analytics and information did was gave me a plan and gave me better conviction because I knew I could go here with this ball and I give myself the best chance. Because as pitchers, once we let the ball go, there's nothing we can do. So our job is basically throw the ball where we give ourselves the best chance based on the count and the hitter. And then the rest of that's your job to hit it, right? So that's where getting into this stuff and finding this. So that's why I really encourage people to go out there, find somebody decently knowledgeable, and go find one of these tracking devices. Now, you don't have to throw every week on it, but it's good to just go learn about yourself. And that way, if you do have, poor numbers, you can learn what changes those numbers, and you can get with a coach who can help you change those numbers.
All right. I wanted to ask this question too. All right. Is Rapsodo the same as TrackMan? If not, how are they the same or different? And on top of that, I wanted to add, because you just said splurted out a couple of other devices who I've never even heard of. So
yeah. Those some of those colleges use those. So colleges will use a Yakkertech, which is they're all data capturing devices. They're all a little bit unique. We can get super technical if you want. On the base level, if I'm a high schooler, Rapsodo and TrackMan, very, very similar. They give a little bit different graphics. Some have a few more release point metrics, but if you're going to evaluate yourself or if you want to get recruited, they're pretty much the same. TrackMan's better. I mean, that's why it's like 5 times the price. And we can get into the super physics side of that if you want to. We don't have to if you don't want to. But if you're a high schooler trying to evaluate yourself, both will do the job. I will be wary. There's a couple of balls out there like Diamond Kinetics and Pitch Logic, which are very good. They're good tools that are very cheap. They're only about $100. The problem with them is they're really good for their spin metrics and their movement metrics, but the velocity and extension and release height are very off. So it's important to know kind of there's a reason why they're $100 and there's a reason why a Rapsodo is $4,000 and there's a reason why a TrackMan is $18,000, right? So it's kind of what you pay for, but you can still get a lot of information off of them. But I would say if I'm a high school pitcher trying to learn about myself, Rapsodo and TrackMan are you can really good to go with. At the professional level, TrackMan is just more reliable in terms of accuracy and pitch to pitch stuff. But we really don't need to get into all that stuff. If anybody really wants to know, feel free to shoot me an email later. But other than that, both should be very good. If you can get on one, I encourage you to get on one as soon as you can.
All right, I love it. So now, okay, so let's get into this nitty gritty now. So just what you said, the TrackMan and the Rap Shuttles, now they're capturing this data. All right, what have you seen? How have this data driven, baseball society we're in right now, how is that translating into when it comes to recruiting now, right? And when did you see the shift? Were you a part of this shift, or has it happened while you're a professional, before you became even into college? When did that shift happen? Like I have my opinion about it, but you're smack dab in it. You're not too far removed, from college, and all of that. So tell me.
For me, in coming up, I don't think, and nothing in high school is just velocity. Nothing with spin rate. College, we had a very knowledgeable pitching coach in the analytics space, but we didn't have anything to capture it. So in terms of college, I didn't use anything. When I got into professional baseball in 2015, so in college I was there from 2012 to 2015. When I got into professional baseball, they had capturing devices, but we were not exposed to the information until last year. Now, so it's interesting in the program. Now, a lot of organizations give the data to the players themselves. Some hide it from them. It's all kind of preference on how they want to use it. Because one important thing about all this data analytics is just because you have the information doesn't mean it's valuable. If it's in the wrong hands, or if it's in somebody uneducated about it, or if it's just given unsolicited to the players, it can be very detrimental to development, because then people get obsessed with chasing all these numbers, and if you chase the wrong numbers, you're not going to get better, right? You have to know which ones to chase and why and how to apply them. So going back to that question, the really good teams have been doing this for about 10, 15 years. They've been in on this game, and that's why they're good. The Astros, Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, they're good for reasons. They have the resources to go into this. Now, in professional baseball today, all 30 teams are giving their guys information. The shift has happened so rapidly. I mean, it's like just the last 3 years. Like I said, I had to kind of go search for it 3 years ago, and now it's being given to us. So it's pretty crazy to see how fast it's going. On the college end, what's happening is a lot of coaches are coming from the professional ranks to come be college coaches. And what they're realizing, especially in the pandemic, is that you can compare pitchers across the country. So you don't have to just look at a video from a random email from a parent that you click on and it's fuzzy and you don't know what the heck's going on. What you can do now is, because all these college coaches are becoming more educated in it, and they all have capturing devices in their own stadium, they can compare your son that's 16 to their Tuesday night starter, to their closer, to their Friday night guy. Using this data and technology. So for them to come out and see a kid now, at least the bigger guys I've talked to in terms of Power 5, big schools that have access to all this stuff, they're going to want to see your data before they come see you. It saves them a trip, because they can see so much from it, and they can compare it to their own players. They can compare it to Major League Baseball players, right? We're just getting a better snapshot of what a pitcher really is. It's kind of like your pitcher's DNA now. So they're not necessarily going to go drive 2 hours to your random high school because of some fuzzy, video you emailed them, right? It's just not going to happen anymore. Especially with the way recruiting is now in a pandemic, is trips are either extremely limited, or I think D1 is actually, D1's not even allowed till I think May or June now.
June 1st now, yeah.
June 1st. So they need this now more than ever. And what it's doing is, if you think about a coach going to head coach and saying, "Hey, I got this kid and this kid. We got one scholarship left. Who are we going to take?" If you are able to give that coach a ton of information about yourself, give them a Rapsodo report, give them a TrackMan report, it just makes that decision a little easier. It becomes less subjective, more objective. And anytime we have more information and we're going to make decisions about players, bringing guys in, how much scholarship money, should we go even look at this kid? It just makes that decision easier. And that's what's really important in today's game. colleges now are getting really into this stuff. TrackMan, I believe, has 80 D1 schools. They have in-stadium units, so every pitch thrown in a game is being tracked. Yacker Tech, which is it's like Nike, Adidas with TrackMan, whatever. It's just another version, right? They have, I would venture to say, probably about 60 to 70% of D1 schools by the end of the year will have an in-stadium tracking unit. So they're getting all this information. When you go to a camp at their school, which I know we're not doing camps right now, that thing will be turned on. They'll be getting your data, right? They'll be comparing it to their own players. And it's just becoming a good tool for coaches to use. So that's why this stuff's really important, because if you go out there with, and put up, poor performance, or you have, poor numbers, and you go give them poor data, they're not going to like you as much. That's why if you do have numbers like I have myself, that if they're pretty easy to change if you get with the right, coaches. So being aware of that at an earlier age and then working towards the numbers that matter will open the eyes of the college scouts. Because one of my jobs is, I've talked to, multiple big dogs at SEC, ACC pitching coaches, and basically they're telling me, exactly what they're looking for. This school in the ACC is looking for really good four-seam guys with tight spinning breaking balls. There's an SEC team that loves sinker ball guys because they have a really, really good infield historically, and they like to get double plays. They like to keep the ball in the infield. There's a mid-major that I talked to that has a very, very short porch in center field. It's like 370. So fly ball pitchers in that park, they don't really like them. They like to get your sinker ballers. They like to get a lot of sidearm guys that keep the ball in play but at low ball flights. So each school is going to have very different opinions on what they want. But what the data gives them is a better snapshot on which guy they're getting. Like if they think they're getting a sinker baller, they want to make sure the TrackMan and Rapsodo agree with their eyes, because if you got 370 to center field, you better be right. If not, you're going to give up a lot of homers. Same with parks that have, big parks. They like fly ball strikeout guys because they can keep the ball in the yard. So each school is going to be different on what they evaluate their own pitchers on, just like they've been doing it in the past. But now these tools are allowing them to get really, really good information and make good decisions on them. So what I would recommend is, if you're a pitcher and you want to go to a particular school, one, I would go out and get on TrackMan or Rapsodo as soon as you can and see, how good you are, with somebody knowledgeable that knows, if that's good or bad. Two, reach out to those coaches and say, hey, coach, I know you guys look at this stuff. Is there anything you guys value in your pitchers? Because you can work towards being, a four-seam guy. You can work towards being a sinker guy or a tight spinning breaking ball guy. There's methods to teach, just like we've been teaching pitching forever. But becoming the guy that you want to eventually be at that school is really important as well. And if a lot of schools will tell you straight up, like, hey, we're really into this stuff, like go out there as much as you can. Some schools are still kind of in the past. That'll be changing, but there's some schools that don't care that much about it, right? Which to them, just go out, ball out, play, get dudes out, right? It's just really important to reach out to those schools that you want to go to and that you think you have a realistic shot of going to, and finding out, establishing that communication and getting with them. Because, you talk to a bunch of college scouts, college coaches. Right now, they are getting 5,000 videos a day, of fuzzy video of, backyard dad holding the phone, right? To be able to put data onto a video, they're more likely to click on it. I'll put it that way. If you put that in the subject line, hey, TrackMan report, Rapsodo report, they know what that is, right? They're going to click on that because they can, they can't see how hard you're throwing from, 70 feet away, from behind the dugout. Like, it's just hard to see. So that's just one good recommendation that I've talked to multiple college coaches about, is put that in the tagline. You're going to give yourself a better shot of it being open, because right now everything's through email and it's getting pretty crazy at the D1 level. So it's just, again, all this is trying to open their eyes, give them a reason, to call you and come see you.
Oh man, I hope parents are listening, man. You guys, again, if I was a DJ, I'd be giving you the horn, woo, woo, all that be going on right now. This type of knowledge that you guys are receiving right now, man. So we got one question that's come in. My boy CT out in Australia says, What about old school coaches? Which way are they going with this way of technology these days?
There's two ways. A lot of dudes are set in their ways, and they're really good coaches for a reason because, again, like I talked about D-Lou, right? Derek Lewis, right? He knew all this information. He just didn't know it yet. And I kind of gave him the terms, right? All these old school coaches know exactly what we're talking about in terms of analytics. They just know it with their eyes. So whether they think they use it or not, they're using it. It's just not in the way that the young guys use it. But what I will say is there are multiple SEC schools that have and ACC schools and Big 12 schools that have old school dudes. But what they have is they have a staff of young interns. They have a staff of video guys and player development guys who are tracking this and are using it to communicate that with the coaches. So just because they might not be into it, they're still getting this information. They're still using this information. And a lot of them right now, multiple I talk to, is they want to use the information. They're more receptive to it. They're just hesitant because they don't fully understand it themselves yet. And like I said earlier, applying this data and stuff like this, if you don't understand it, is just as bad as, it's just not very good, right? So what they're doing is they're collecting information now on their guys. They're collecting information on recruits. And just because they're not using it today doesn't mean they're not planning to use it in, 2-3 years. And kind of how the landscape is changing is you're seeing more guys in professional baseball make the jump to college baseball simply because that's what they're doing, the pro level, and they want to bring that into the colleges. And every player growing up now, and this is where you'll see the change, is every player growing up now is into all this stuff. Like you can go on Twitter, like I got 14-year-olds talking to me about, vertical break and spin efficiency. I'm like, what the heck? Like I didn't learn this until I was 23, But what happened is all these people leaving baseball now are going to become coaches, 5-10 years from now. So they're bringing this, this knowledge. Like right now, I'm kind of in the sweet spot of being, I came up through kind of the old method of baseball, and now I have some of the new information. And like guys like myself will be in the game later. And so even though there's some old school dudes now, it's just going to be trending. It's not going away, is basically what I'm saying, right? And those old dudes, they're really, really good coaches, and they have amazing experience. And once they learn this stuff, they're going to be, unbelievable coaches. And
they just have to learn it though, right, Mac? They just got to be.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. I've talked to a lot of dudes with a lot of experience that I've helped kind of learn this stuff, and once they see it and they learn it, and they go, man, this is awesome. Like, it's kind of what we already knew, but it's a way to communicate to players, because coaching is all about communicating to the players, and this is how players learn now. This is how they're being exposed to it, and this is what they want to do. So coaches will have to adapt to the player. The coaches will always adapt to the player because they need them to succeed. And if they don't, they probably won't be very good coaches for much longer. But yeah, just because they're old school dudes doesn't mean they're still not using the information. They just got a couple nerdy interns, sifting through it for them.
All right. My boy Herman in Texas says, coming in late, this question might have already been asked. What are the college coaches looking for in position players when it comes to the analytical side?
Absolutely. So pitching's easy because we're in control. Hitting's hard because it's reaction. So there's significantly less data that goes along with it. One thing they like, and this is nothing new, it's just exit velocity is people kind of take it. I don't know. I don't want to say it's misused, but it's just hitting the ball hard. Like we've always done this. Like you've always wanted the hitters that hit the ball hard. So to me, it's not something new. Again, we're just measuring it and we're being able to apply it. So for reference, I talked to a couple SEC coaches and 95 exit velo is kind of what they see regularly there. So that's like their number. If a guy's producing over that in a game, I'm not talking, I kind of want to put my foot down on the tee. Like, please
speak on that.
Nobody cares. Like nobody cares. Like,
oh God,
nobody cares. So like,
please,
video. If you're sending in video, it's not bad. Like, trust me, I deal with a lot of kids that have, I'm like, no, they want to see what you look like in a game because, BP's deceptive enough. We have enough BP hitters. We don't need T hitters, right? It's a really good tool to work on things. I think the T is great to be able to, find rhythm in your swing, to be able to work on things without a moving ball. It's fantastic. But to use it as a recruiting tool, it's being more mocked than it is like used, I guess I would say, in talking to college coaches. Like they're like, oh, another T video, right? Now, exit velocity is incredibly important in game and in batting practice because you're actually seeing a moving ball. We're seeing ball flight, right? We're not in a cage. So it's very important. So from college coaches looking at position players, they're always going to love speed, always. So the 60-yard dash that's analytics, I guess you'd say, right? So 60-yard dash is incredibly important. We always want a good arm. So being able to assess outfield, infield velo, really important. Catchers, always going to be pop time and arm strength from behind the plate. That's another important one I think that gets overlooked because college coaches like to look for tools. So you got a guy behind the plate. The kid at your camp was throwing it like 82 down second base, which is
I wanted to tell that story, like on the position. I mean, on the pitching side, like the debate that we had. I guess we can go into. I know we're talking position players, but I want to talk about that from a measurement side because I know you're going to talk about it. Yeah. Like, give your assessment because we talked about him the other day. I thought body wise everything was good, but me not being the pitching guy, I was like, yo, I got him pegged as a D2 player. And because the velo was there and, not necessarily was there, the body was there and everything. But tell me what you thought of that guy and why'd you feel that particular way on that kid based on the analytics?
Yeah, so he was what, about 6'3", 6'4"?
Yes.
About 175 pounds maybe.
Or drinking water, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, left-hander, very projectable body, right? If I were to grade the fastball just based off of his movements, his spins, his velo, right? It's probably a D2 pitch, D2 JUCO pitch right now. Now, he's 170 pounds and he's 6'4". I would imagine that would get into the mid-80s, right? The key for him, though, he's spinning his breaking ball above major league average. So he had, if in the old way of thinking is we pencil him because he was 81 miles an hour, that he's just a D2 arm. So we go based off one number. We look at the kid and we say, hey, one number, you're just a D2 guy, which to me is crazy, right? TrackMan reps, so you get 14 metrics. So what I found is when we had him back there, he's spinning a breaking ball 2,500 and it was above major league average spin. So he's got a D1 pitch. It's just not his fastball. But everybody just looks at the fastball. We just asked about the fastball. Now, if I'm recruiting this kid, I'm looking at him saying he's 6'4", 170. He's throwing 81. Okay, cool. What college coaches will say is what they should say if they're good coaches is I can get that kid in the weight room. I can get his mechanics better. If that kid hits 85, he can pitch in Division I baseball because his curveball was that good. It had that much movement. I plugged it into our system. He was 98th percentile in horizontal movement. He was 94th percentile in vertical movement, and then it was like 87th percentile in spin. So he has a D1 pitch, like above. That's an SEC pitch, but he didn't have the velocity to go along with it. So he went from being just another guy throwing 81 to now his coach says, oh, okay, he's throwing 81, but he's got this. Now, if I can figure out the fastball and the velo and the body, I now get an SEC pitch maybe at a mid-major school. And that's where this becomes really important. What a lot of people are doing with their walk-ons, which I think is really important now, is walk-ons used to be what? The 6'4" kid, 170, maybe 88, but you project them to be 95 if everything goes right? They never do, but everything goes right, it's good. What they're finding now is they're taking more kids like him saying, hey, nobody knows, but I got this SEC curveball, but I got D2 fastball. If I get this just up to a D1 fastball, he's slicing everybody up in the SEC. So that's where that kid went from having, I don't want to say no shot to D1, but if you're back there watching a kid throw 81, I mean, a million kids throw 81, but not many kids spin it like him at all. In fact, nobody in high school is spinning it like him. So that's where this stuff becomes really cool because he was going to be just a cast off, whatever. And now he's probably got a chance. If he goes to the right school that understands this stuff and wants to take that chance, right? I mean, I was back there with those 4 scouts there. I forget, I won't mention what schools they're at, but they're all like, dang, like that curveball was kind of too good for us, right? And they're like, that was a good curveball, right? And so that's where it gets fun because I think I just hate it when people get penciled into just one number of velocity. And even though that was the best part of my career is I got penciled into one number, right? But for so many kids, they just get thrown to the wayside because that one number is not good, but they're really good at everything else. That's what's important is if you are that kid throwing 81, you are that kid throwing 85, and you want to go to a level higher than what you're getting looked at, get your other stuff really good, because that starts opening eyes. And that's why, like, that kid was a perfect example of your camp was like, I feel very comfortable sending that out to people. And I definitely will. But, if you just send me the kid throwing 81 on a pocket radar, it's hard to sell that kid. It just is.
Right. And here I am, right? I'm that.
And he didn't even know, right?
That D2 guy that like, huh?
Did that kid even know that he had that good of a breaking ball? He probably had no idea.
I gotta talk to him, man. No. And the little part about it, I feel so bad. And I'm glad we're gonna talk. We need, I'm gonna talk to him, and I want you to holler at him too. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, I do. I because I made the mistake, because I love how he competed, but I didn't call him back at the end of the day, and I was like, why did I not miss him? So I've been kind of wanting to reach out to him based on what you told me and whatever. Because even at the D2 level, you said what?
So that's what's happening now, is just because you send that kid home because just 81, but it's like what we're realizing is that's going to be the kid throwing 84 at a mid-major on a midweek, getting every Vandy hitter out. And that's what you're always looking at. How'd that kid getting everybody out at 83, 84, because it happens, right? And that's where, and there's reasons why. It's not by accident. And people think it's just by accident. It's not by accident. We know now why they're getting people out. And it's like, but to be that 83, 84 guy, you got to, go throwing this stuff to find out if you are that dude. Because you might just be the 81 guy that isn't very good.
Right. But my point is, and I stand corrected, and this is why I have you on. This is why I think that for parents listening in, because this kid can possibly get overlooked from me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, 81. I mean, I like his body. I definitely think he could pitch in college, but I had him pegged as a D2, where it takes somebody like yourself, pitched at the D1 level, pros, and understands the analytical side of things that say, hey, this guy, I mean, I could see he had a plus pitch, but you got the analytics beside that, because it's hard for me to call a guy and be like, yo, hey, so-and-so, Power 5 school, man, this kid was 80, 81, but he had a really good curveball. You know what I'm saying?
They're not going to believe you. They're not going to believe you. Because guess what? Every coach, every parent is sending an email saying, like, nobody's ever talked bad about their own kid. Nobody's ever talked bad about their own player, right? And that's what the beauty of TrackMan, Repsol, all this stuff is it doesn't have an opinion. It's just telling you exactly what's happening. And that's what people want to see, because opinions get you fired if you listen to them too many times, right? That's the way it works.
All right. Hey, this is but anyway, I'm glad you came on and talked about it, man. Couple more questions, man, to get you out of here, man. All right, Mac. So Bubba says, what can a pitcher do to get more spin rate?
Depends by the pitch. Fastball is more of an innate thing. I don't want to say you got it or you don't, but it's very tied into your own mechanics. It's very tied into your own body, how long your levers are, how strong your grip strength is, the way your fingers look. I challenge everybody to go look at Pedro Martinez Twitter. He just posted something about his double jointed fingers, and it's like, okay, well, cool. Like I'll never be able to recreate his pitch because my fingers aren't double jointed. So in terms of fastballs, it's very hard without using, I guess I would say, illegal substances. But if you find a way to be able to improve spin rate on fastballs, you'll have a job in professional baseball, be making a lot of money. Now on curveballs and sliders, it's pretty easy. You'd be surprised just how many bad grips there are from kids developing fingers, bad advice on grips, right? That's why getting on these machines is probably the best way, because I can tell you exactly what you should do with your hand, and you can go out there and try and do it. Most likely you're not going to do it, and if you do, you won't know. So the way to increase spin rate, in my opinion, would be to get on one of these measuring devices, or even this is where the pitch logic would be great. It's $100. So because if all you want to care about is spin and not velocity, which I think is good, you buy one of those, you work on it, and what you're going to find is a trial and error process. Try it, because every person's hands, levers, and mechanics are so different that one grip for one guy doesn't work for another guy. What you can do is do trial and errors. Try this grip, try this thought process, see if it works, right? Try this grip, try, ripping the seam more, try getting more on top of it, right? And you'll see what starts changing. You'll see if that spin rate starts going up. What you'll find is that, it could be something really, really weird. I spike my slider, which everybody in the world spikes a curveball. I never could throw a slider. I said, I'm going to try and spike it. And then everybody was like, no. And then it worked for me. So like, it shouldn't have worked, but it worked for me. So in a broad answer, my best way to increase it is to measure it. You can't see it with the eye, and that's the problem, is you don't know if you're getting better at it. So I can tell you all these cues, but you can go there and try them. You'll be like, I think that was better. I don't know, right? So getting a measuring device is going to be the easiest way to increase spin rate through the trial and error process. And then getting just with a good pitching coach. Like I said, if you have a pitching coach that you trust that can teach a curveball, all you got to do is get a measuring device, because it's still pitching, and it's still like the way we talk curveballs, it hasn't really changed. It's just we can measure it, make sure that it's working, right? And that's kind of how all this stuff works, is just being able to measure it and then improve upon it.
All right. A couple more. Let me get you out of here, Mac. All right. Yeah. Jacob says, my son is that lefty, 72 max velo, freshman at high school, opens gyms. The varsity coach asked the catcher if his fastball always moves that much. So he didn't open any eyes with the velo. It was purely based on him throwing that 4-seam cutter and the 2-seam with run. I'm glad he has a knowledgeable coach that appreciates the movement rather than writing him off as a junk ball pitcher.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the people, like I said, people always go to just that, like you said, lefty 72. Like you put it in his description, right? It's like, it's people just associate that number with anything, when pitching is, deception, it's sequencing, it's command, it's movement, right? It's really hard to, there's no stat for command, really. There's no stat for, tunneling yet, or at least that's public knowledge, right? There's no stat for being able to compete on the mound. There's no stat for being able to throw a changeup 2-0, right? And throw it for a strike. Unfortunately, that's why it doesn't sell. Velo sells because you can measure it. And you can go to a coach and say, hey, right, this is what I see guys on TV throwing hard, right? It's hard to work on things that it's hard to measure. So that's why, like, having coaches that appreciate that, because that guy's probably a good baseball guy. He knows that'll get outs. And just because it's 72, you can locate that, that cutter 2-seam thing. It's really effective, right? And that's where all this kind of ties together, is just ultimately the goal is to get outs. And you can do that plenty of different ways. And if it isn't velocity, my recommendation would just be make sure it's moving. Because 72, even if you got the best 4-seam in the world at 72, probably not going to do too much. You better make that thing move, and you better command it, and you better throw a lot of strikes, because 72 in a 2-0 count is much easier to hit than, an 0-2 count. We're not sure if the changeup's coming in at 65.
All right. Let's get this last one in, Mac. All right, before we go and get your info out there. All right. Yeah. Corey says, from a college recruitment perspective, how would you view a sophomore lefty pitcher who is 5'7", 122 pounds, who throws 83 miles per hour with arm side runs? Hell, shit.
83 from that size is pretty impressive. So my first indication would be, so is this coming from as if I was a college coach? I'm assuming, or is this from me as a?
I think it's a high school coach. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
I think Corey runs, helps runs programs and stuff in Atlanta.
Yeah. So from that kid, one, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him on a tracking device to see, just how good that arm side run is, because people think arm side run is good, but sometimes like not enough of it could be, like I had a little bit of arm side run. I thought it was good, but it wasn't good. So I want to see just how good that is, because so if I'm a college coach, yeah. If I'm a college coach, definitely I want to see what those metrics look like on that sinker, because 83 at that size is very cool. Another cool thing is that what we're starting to learn about is shorter dudes is from a really low release height, pitches play differently. We used to think short dudes bad. We don't want those, right? We're finding out that it's actually pretty unique. So just because he's 5'7" could be a really unique arm angle. And it could be, especially at 83 miles an hour, that's pretty impressive at 122 pounds, right? And that's when you're a college coach, you start thinking, okay, this kid's 122. We get him up to, 150, 160, 170. We would imagine that pitch would get into the upper 80s. Again, you'd have to look at the mechanics and make sure everything's tight there. But I'd love to see just how much arm side movement he's getting. And so his size, yeah, again, this is where just because you're short, if you can get on a TrackMan or you rep Soto, release height is very important. I'll shout out my buddy at Western Carolina, Taylor Sandifer. He at Western, he knows that he's not going to get, every dude throwing 93 at Western Carolina. He's a mid-major school. He's obsessed with release heights. So if you got a unique release height, send your stuff to Western Carolina. He likes super, super tall dudes that are over the top, right? Just because if he's going to get the kid throwing 88, 90, let's have it be from up here, and let's have it be from way down here. So at 5'7", you get that up to 88. That could be a really unique arm angle. So being able to sell yourself as a unique package, use that size to your advantage. But that's why you need to go to a Rapsodo or a TrackMan to find out what your release height is and see if it is unique or not. And then obviously get that weight up and get in the weight room, because if you're going to be shorter, you better pack a punch. That's all I'll say. I'm 5'11", so I'm pretty short, so I can say that.
All right. What about exit velo and hitting D? Can you ask him if he got the one super? Yeah. So Serge, if you look at it, I sent you. You remember, right? You remember Sergio's son? Serge. Yeah, big switch hitter. Yeah, I sent all that out. So Serge, you gotta look at that email, brother, because I connected it to what Max sent with the spreadsheet. So it's on there, Serge. Just look at your email, man. All right, look through your email. It should be on there. So I guess I should have it up now, but I don't. But yeah, I think it was 89.90. I'll be honest with you, man. I looked, okay?
Yeah,
I did look at you.
Yeah, good swing.
Yeah, I think 89.90 was, so that's what I had. And I think the highest was Chandler Hicks had 94 exit velo off the
yeah, he smoked some balls.
Yeah. So
those weren't great baseballs either. Those were kind of some beat up baseballs.
Yeah, no doubt.
Brand new pack, you're probably getting, +3. All
right, cool. So Mac, man, before I'm gonna share your information, and I always have our guests take us on out. But I'm going to share Mac's information, and we're going to talk a little bit about his services and linking up with him. Let me put it here, and I want you to take us out with the message. But let me this is Mac's information. All right, here. Let me see. Damn, I left it on here. And if you want to reach out to him, all right, and then Atlanta, if you want to come into the Atlanta area, you see the importance of it. All right. You see how much is needed in the game and where it's going. So here's Max, Sean. All right, his information. If you want to reach out to him over there. So you're going to come out with a message in a minute, but listen, I have added the banners and I've added the links to the Southern Cal showcase. Man, I wish I could have my boy Mac bring the TrackMan all around the country with me. It's well needed. But we're gonna work something out, you know what I'm saying? And then especially anywhere that's close, he's got to go earn his keep over there and ball soon. So again, if you want, we will have the live streaming aspect of everything there we'll have our own radar going next to Velo. They ain't gonna have all the bells and whistles that TrackMan has, but you come out to the Southern Cal showcase on March 20th. We are lining up the rest of the showcases for this, but I just want you guys to understand, that's why I bring on these guests, man, the importance of where I think where the recruiting is going, just based off Mac is just kind of putting layers to this, where I see you guys have seen the SO2 cognition from my boy Paul Phillips. I'm talking about the brain. I just feel like by the time 3 to 5 years, just like Mac said, like you guys will be the college coaches will almost essentially will have to just look at data to find out who they want to come. You know what I'm saying, to their particular school, and basically, they want to see a kid play, but if a kid has decent numbers in travel ball in high school and he has the analytics beside him, it's like, just let me put a little eye on video. All right, let's give him, give him an opportunity to come here. That's where it's going. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the COVID, it's proven that guys are giving offers based off a video alone. You know what I'm saying? It's showing that. So that it could be done. It's a crapshoot. We're going to see how good it works or not, but this is where I see it going. But anyway, the Southern Cal Showcase is coming up. Sign up for that. Tomorrow we'll be on 4 p.m. Eastern. All right. We're just keeping this knowledge going. All right. So anyway, Mac, all right, if you could, man, kind of share, if you could, to the audience, man, that's still hanging in there. I appreciate you guys listening, and just take us on out with a message, and then obviously, this is how they can reach you. But anyway, talk about how they can reach you more, and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm up in the Norcross area. What formerly was NSTA.
Georgia, Mac, tell them, everybody ain't from Atlanta, so.
Say what?
That's everybody ain't from Atlanta, so just
Oh, yeah. So I'm up in Norcross, Georgia, kind of like right outside Atlanta. But yeah, if anybody's interested, like I said, trying to get their information in and getting it to college coaches and seeing where they're at. I've had multiple kids come in that, I've said, hey man, we're not there yet. Let's hold off on sending them to colleges. Let's work a little bit more, and then let's send it in, a little bit later. I've had multiple kids that come out and I said, hey, we don't need to do any work. We need to pump this out to as many schools as we can. And all of a sudden, they're talking, 3-4 colleges at the D1 level, just like that. So if anybody needs help getting on these devices, I would just reach out to either Rapsodo or TrackMan or a facility in your area that you can. They'll have it on the front page if they got it, because they want to pump it out, right? So look at some facilities and go see and get your numbers and see where you're at and pump those out to the colleges, because that's what's going to give you your best chance. It's just another notch in the tool belt. You still got to be able to play. You still got to be able to pitch. This is just one more way for us to show a little bit bigger picture of what we're used to showing with a person. It won't lie for you. If you stink, you stink. But what it might do is expose some qualities that you didn't know you had, or you didn't the scouts thought you had, but now they can put a number on it. So if anybody's in the Atlanta area, I'm up in Norcross. Reach out to me through email. We can set something up, get you a time, get you in there, work something out, help you get recruited, and if not, help you work on some things to become more recruitable. And that's kind of what we do. We do it we got 18 big leaguers, another 16, 17 minor leaguers in with us right now. The high schoolers were in before, but now obviously they're playing now. So I would recommend doing this kind of after the high school season. I want you guys all go out and compete. Go in your high school, seasons. Don't worry about numbers right now. Go out, ball out, go win games, and then hit me up after the season and let's get that stuff going. And D1 is they're stuck till June, so this is a really good opportunity to be able to send some of your stuff out there and get it out to the right people who would appreciate it.
All right, there you go. So we're going to be working together, in the future. So we did it this past weekend with the numbers, and he came to my showcases, and I wanted him to come on here because this is where it's going. I wish I could, like I said, I wish I could travel with him all over the country. All right, but who knows?
We'll work something out.
Yeah. So, but again, this is something where you reach out to them, let them know where you're coming in from, listening to the show, and this is where I want to help as many people as I can get the opportunity to play at the next level. This is what it's about. All right. So, this is where it's at. So hit them up, reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with my boy Mac over there, and put some on the film, man. And it's just a package deal. It just looks better, like you said. Just more layers to this.
Yep.
When it comes to separating yourself. So, excuse me, Mac. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you now for taking out the time.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, so Mac will be. I'll bring him on. Man. Hopefully, he come on during the season when he's out there balling out there, throwing. Go get up there and tell my boy Danny Meyer over there to teach you something over there, and tell him you talk to me, man. That's my boy.
I will. All right, D. I appreciate it. I gotta go.
All right, Mac. Good to talk to you, brother. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, bro. All right. So anyway, so I hope you guys got some great info with that, man. All right. So you guys are understanding where this thing is going from the analytical side. And I will continue to try to bring in the best knowledge to help you guys, all right, as we go with this thing. All right. So listen, if you are in the local areas and where you are, go ahead, go get on the TrackMans, get on the Rapsodos. I've learned in the last 12 months myself how important these analytics. I had to become Rapsodo certified, and KVEST certified. I'm gonna bring on another guest more on the offensive side. All right, we kind of hit the pitching side, but I'm gonna bring on another guest. All right, if I could kind of lock him in, and we're gonna talk more from the offensive side, how important the analytical side, not necessarily for recruiting in college, but we're gonna talk from a pro side. Okay, so just we're just gonna keep this ball rolling, keep this knowledge going. All right, share this, tag this message that if you got something from it. All right. I appreciate you guys listening in. Tomorrow we'll be on 4 p.m. Eastern, okay? Tag and share this message, all right? The analytical side of things, all right? When it comes to recruiting, where it's going, all right? Peace and love, y'all. See you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m.